This is the Andres Segovia Show.
Greetings everyone, it's Andres. In this episode, I'm going to be going over the other social media platforms that exist out there. I reject alt tech or alt media or whatever they're calling it, because the left is the one that uses that phrase, and that phraseology comes with negative connotations about it because, last I checked, we don't call what's that, Vimeo or the other video platform, we don't call it alt to YouTube. We just say Vimeo or Dailymotion. So why is the other platforms giving a phrase that is stigmatizing? So I reject it. I will not call it that. These are other social media platforms that are available out there, some that claim to be free speech. So how real is it? How real isn't? I'll tell you which ones I'm on. At least the main ones that I utilize, how I utilize it, and why I utilize it in that way. So I'll be covering Minds, GETTR, Parler, Gab. No particular order, so I just pulled them up and here they are. So I'll probably start with the one that's been in the news more lately, and that would be GETTR. So let me show you GETTR. That would be to the right of your screen. And this is I've been here since July 2021. It says I wasn't active until like later in the year 2021. I have been more active lately because some names that have jumped up on this. So like, oh, okay, cool. So it's basically a Twitter clone. Depending on how you adjust it, you'll have home, search, your profile, notifications, and the options that are on the side and stuff like that. So it's pretty straightforward. The app looks and feels like this, as what you see, what you get basically. And for the most part, it does feel like Twitter. Now, with just like other ones, you can do a dark mode. You notice this is the only one I have on white. This dark mode is more of a blue color. You know what? I guess I'll just show you. I'll probably just edit so you guys can see. This is their so-called dark mode. It doesn't really look all that dark, but if you would slap a Twitter label on this, I think people will be none the wiser. But because of the accounts that I follow here, this is why I utilize it in some way. Some of these are available on these other platforms, just not as active or haven't been active in quite some time. So it is here. There's the whole quote, tweeting or whatever. But I guess the ones I should show you would be what's going on with, I guess this is the controversy part, right? Joe Rogan. So this is something that you do not see on the app. If you use it only on the app, it'll tell you how many GETTR followers and how many total followers. This is because of the Twitter followers. See right there, it says Twitter. Joe Rogan has 7.8 million followers from Twitter. This became a controversy because as soon as Joe Rogan came on the platform, he had like 8.9 million followers. Like, whoa, so many people wanted to really follow this guy. But what ended up happening was that, like, wait a minute, are you guys just inflating these things? Because there aren't that many users on GETTR in the first place. So no, there aren't. So the realistic figure is 1.2 million GETTR followers for Joe Rogan, plus his Twitter followers 7.8, which gives him a total of 9. There are videos that he has put like to show the activity. For example, this is one post that he made here on GETTR. The other ones tend to be I guess the mirroring of the Twitter posts that are showing up over here, and that's the excuse that GETTR was using to say that they're cross-platform posting, and that's one thing that for what they use the excuse that, like, oh, we wanted to show the actual reach that they have, so when you post on GETTR, it'll automatically post to your Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is. I never heard about that, but I saw some articles, so that's the excuse they were using for why they're using that way. But that didn't mean that wasn't gonna come without some controversy, because like, why did you guys implement it in this way that caused this to happen? Now, there are more controversies to GETTR that are going on. One that I will not address is with respects to who's the one bankrolling this thing, which is supposed to be a Chinese billionaire or whoever he is. Just because you're Chinese doesn't make you CCP. But some people are just labeling people like that. It's like, you know, that the most outspoken people against the Communist Party of China are the Chinese that escaped that place. So I will not address that. There was some other stuff that I do want to address, but I feel like I have to talk about the other ones because they'll kind of overlap. But this is the big one about why some people say, oh, you hear that Joe Rogan's already trashing GETTR and talking about deleting and things like that. Yeah, I saw the interview piece, and I'll probably show a little bit of it a little later. But anyway, I put these up in no particular order. This is just how they open when I pop them open. So I'm going to go to the next one over. This is Parlor. Let me just go back to my profile here. So this is Parlor, and this is what it looks like now. And I use the dark mode. Of all of these, my favorite color scheme in dark mode is Parlor. As soon as they went dark, like, oh my goodness, that's just beautiful. So I absolutely love it. And you'll probably notice that right here, I have a badge because I am verified. I'm verified on Parler, I'm verified on Gab, and I'm verified on, as you can see here, on Minds. That's very important too, to understand. I'm not verified on GETTR. I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to go about it. I'll contact the support, but I think you have to have like it's a certain amount of followers for that to happen, and where these other ones didn't require that. In fact, Parler was the most controversial in trying to verify you, because initially you actually had to send them a copy of your ID, and yeah, I did at the time, and that was back then. This is not what Parler looks like, what it used to look like. I honestly forgotten how it used to look like. So let me go at kind of like the other ones. The functions are at the bottom when you kind of adjust the screen like the way I did. I put them into columns just because it's easier for me to use, and there's a reason I put them this way, and I'll explain it a little bit later. So home, this one's discover, notifications, and search. So here we have, unlike other ones, this one's actually a little bit different, where you have all parlays, because Parler calls them parlay, and it called echoes, or what people on Twitter will call it, retweeting. So these would be hiding anybody that's like echoing or retweeting their posts, and it'll pop up here. One of the cool things that I like about Parler that they kept, this is from the legacy platform before when kaput, is that you also have another column called subscriptions. So this is akin to being able to following somebody on a platform and then hit the notification bell so you can see their post priority over the other ones. So that's what I have here, that from all the people that I follow, I only subscribe to some, because I don't need to see all the other posts, because I'm usually following news, and I'll tell you how I use these. So when I click subscriptions, I'll be able to see people that like William Hall or Amy Paykoff, I think I pronounced that right, Steven Crowder, to be able to like weed them out from all the parlays. Otherwise, I'd be going through all this looking for them to see, like, I don't see their posts here because it's just been that many posts, and it'll bury them. So this has been a considerably easier way for me to search and also get to what I want to see, in this case being people that I'm subscribed to. Now, the issue that people have with Parler is that the functionality isn't what it used to be. Ever since they went kaput, when they turned on their servers again after they were able to collect their data back from Amazon and others, there were some issues trying to get back on, but at least some of our data was there. Unfortunately, they were trying to restore all of our data. It didn't happen. They promised they would. It never happened. So I would say as of this point, maybe less than a year's worth for anybody who's been active. I've been active here since June 28, 2020. All of that history is gone. So it became a pain for those of us that created like a social media there. So it's like your Facebook account being removed, and all the pictures and things you ever put up are gone. Because I did put videos here, I did put pictures here, and like I said, they're all gone. And there's still some pain points to all this, to be able to use while user friendly for the better part than it was, the functionality is still not there. A lot of features that existed before the nuking of Parler are still not here, and that's one of the big ones. People want to be able to block better. There's an implementation of an AI to weed out hate speech, and it doesn't exactly work. I got issued a troll warning on one of my posts. It wasn't even a troll, like whatever, but it's because, oh, they're implementing it, there's some issues with it, blah, blah, blah. So that's the way that went. But for the most part, I still use it. I have the most followers here of all of these, as you can see, or you will see, but the activity on this isn't, on the comments, yes. On my posts, not so much. So it's been a downer that most of my followers didn't come back, and it shows as my follower account. But if you go there, you won't see any activity for months, because either they never came back, or just they lost hope in the platform and things like that. So that's the one downside there. That's why some people that were on Parler have moved to GETTR, because it reminds them of what Parler used to be, functionality wise, the vibe there. Because a lot of people that were on Parler jumped over to GETTR, and if they didn't jump to GETTR, if they were already on Gab, they went to Gab and they became active on Gab. So that's kind of how it went. But you'll see my follower accounts, I follow over 80 each on GETTR and Parler, but I barely follow any on GETTR. So I mean on Gab. So let me move over to Gab. I already mentioned, I guess, on part of that, you can upload videos. You can actually upload lengthy videos compared to, say, GETTR that just caps it, just like Twitter does, like around 2 minutes. But you can also do lives on GETTR, which is pretty cool if you're a big enough platform. That doesn't exist on these other ones, as far as I know, with the exception of Minds to an extent. But in the case of Parler, it does feel more bare bones compared to all of these other ones. They're very slowly rolling out some updates. There hasn't really been much of anything in the past month, so that's been disappointing. However, like I said, I'm following more accounts on GETTR and Parler, not so much on Gab, and that has to do with the fact that they're more active on those other platforms, or they exist on those platforms and not on Gab. So here on Gab, this one, just like the other ones, it does give you more choices. So you have home, notifications. This is groups. So that's the one major difference among these other two, that Minds and Gabs do have groups. And that's basically how you get the most interaction when you're in groups, because if you're like-minded folks, like-minded topics or whatever, say coffee, or the Bible and things like that, you'll find groups like that, and you guys can talk about it, and you guys can follow each other and make posts. In the case of this Explore, kind of Discover, and then there's a news feed here, and you can filter out the news too. So these are links that people are posting, popular links, trending, if you will. So if someone's sharing a similar link, it'll probably pop up like, oh, this is like the most shared link going on Gab, and this would be like your choices for your options on your accounts and stuff. So many different options you can have. So of all of these, the most thorough is Gab, and I think they've been around, going on 5 years now, at least actively. So there's a lot that goes on here. This is like the main feed. Like I said, I don't follow that many, so it's not many going to show up here. But what you're probably seeing as posts are probably what you're expecting to find on Gab, because that's probably what you heard about. Gab, of all of these platforms, Gab has the worst reputation because of the big tech platforms that hate on Gab. So those that have been kicked out of other platforms have found a home on Gab, because Gab, of all of these, actually practices freedom of speech, including offensive speech, because hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. Violence or calls to violence to others is not. So that's not acceptable on Gab. Probably contrary to popular belief. So that I always find ironic that Twitter allows the Taliban and Hamas and others to have Twitter accounts, but conservatives are more dangerous supposedly, and they're purged. But there are those that either have been like trolls or less than savory folk that just go out there to just be bullies, cyber bullies, that I've seen have found their way to the platforms, in this case such as Gab. So you will run into those, but you can block them if you don't want them bothering you. It's just that if you don't want to deal with that, that's why I understand why some people are not as active on Gab. But to me, the accounts that I care about, at least most of them, are not on Gab, so that's why I follow them on the other platforms. Now, there is more to it, which I'll get to, but I'm just covering the basics here. And just like Minds a little bit, there is like in this case, Gab TV, and I talked about Gab TV before. So on Gab TV, if I click the TV icon at the top, you'll be able to load up what's basically, it's kind of like its own version of YouTube. Oh, I gotta sign in here. I don't know why it signed me out, but let me sign in. It does it automatically because I'm already signed in. So there, that's now let's go to my channel. So you'll find my stuff here, and I put exclusive stuff here because I can. I love it, and people are tuning in the hundreds to my show. So I get a lot of activity here, and I appreciate anyone and everyone that has uploaded, or at least shared my uploads. That doesn't mean I always get like likes. I get dislikes, and I get quite a bit of hate on it too. So it's not like, oh, this is a safe place for you, Andres. No, I had some unsavory folks say unsavory things to me. Just that, well, it's just par for the course. I don't care. Hate is a human condition. It's not what colors you wear or what political persuasion you identify with. Hate is from within. You're gonna find hate no matter where you go. So that's just the way I see all that. Well, anyway, unlike the other two, Parler used to have a direct messaging. GETTR says they're gonna get it. Gab has it. They didn't have it for a little bit, then they brought it back, I think. I think they were working on it, unless I'm mistaking my history here. And then Minds does have that. So I covered generally a lot of this. So I'm going to move over to Minds now to tell you. Minds is quite literally Facebook, Instagram, Twitter in one. That's quite literally how it works, especially on the app, because you can do stories. You can do upload large videos in portraits and landscape. You can have a pro channel like I do, because you can do so much on this. It's like, whoa, man, I didn't know you could have that much more. Let me show you. This one doesn't have the buttons at the bottom, because it doesn't. So it has the hamburger button when you arrange it the way I have. So when you go to newsfeed, you will have this, and you will get like some advertisements. So these are like ad or boosted posts. So this, you can use cryptocurrency to basically buy ads or boost your post so you can get more people to see it. So they would have like their own ring around it. And hold on, I'm being distracted by the Bounding into Comics article about Daredevil being canceled because of Disney Plus from Netflix. So anyway, when you see those rings, those are the ones that you're not following. So they're kind of like featured posts or added posts. Like, what? Tim Allen returns to the role of Scott Calvin in the new Disney Plus series Santa Claus. Oh, it's Disney Plus, man. Don't ruin the character. And things like that. Files lawsuit claiming Robert Kirkman tricked him out of the series ownership rights. Well, anyway, I'm gonna get distracted. Bounding to Comics is one of the ones that I follow here on Minds. I follow them across anything they're available on, just because I like a non-leftist spin on my comics news. So that's Minds. And like I said, they have groups, they have video channels. I have a video channel there, or a place where you can see my videos. And you can see this is the boosted thing again. It popped up and it'll shuffle. Sometimes, depending on your settings, if you did not turn off the filter for or turn on the filter for not safe for work, you will get some less than savory posts here too. So just FYI, Minds is one of those that's also like Gab, that says that they protect freedom of speech. But unlike Gab, where Gab doesn't allow any pornography, Minds does. So sometimes I'll be like, I did not expect that post to show up on the thingy there. So I'm like, I try not to open this whenever I'm around the wife, because she's like, what are you looking at? Like, I didn't boost this post, because they're supposed to be a decentralized platform and things like that. So there's no algorithm to say it's like, hey, someone paid to boost it, so it's gonna spam you one way or another. But I'll let you do the filters thing. So that's Minds. There's a lot there. And a lot more. So now let me delve into some controversies with these two. In the case of Minds, unlike the other ones, Minds is a place where I found some accounts that I used to follow when I was on Twitter, and others that are not active on Minds. So they just had an account, but they're not active. Like, oh, okay, bummer. But I followed them for a time. And just like other places, I'll just post whatever post that I was going to make, and I put them across all these because I'm putting all my main ones. So it's like trying to advertise and boost. I used to have more subscribers on this one. I had to block some. Minds has been a place where I was not welcomed. This has been a place where I've encountered a lot more of the unsavory folk that I said that you're just going to find wherever they can, and just troll people. And they're not contributing anything constructive to a conversation. They're just literally just saying hateful, spiteful things because they hide behind an avatar. So it's been a place that's been less active, and that's unfortunate. And because a lot of accounts that I wish were active and aren't, to me, Minds for me has been a barren wasteland, to say the least. And I don't like to describe it that way. I really wish Minds were a lot bigger. I wish there were more people would use it, just because the feature sets, like, dude, if there was ever an alternative to Instagram, if you will, Minds is the closest thing feature wise. It's so robust, but it's just unfortunate that there aren't that many people that I know that would use it. But the ones that I do subscribe to are accounts that I also follow elsewhere, so I engage with them outside of Minds, and that's kind of the long and short of it. So if you're on Minds and you're watching this, I'm gonna offend everybody on any of these platforms, and honestly, so what? If you get offended, I'm just telling you my experiences on these. So there you go. It's not my truth. I'm just telling you my experiences. When it comes to Gab, yes, I've had unsavory folk come at me. I block some of them, but for the most part, it has been a very warm reception. It's going to be close to a year, January 2021, when I came on this thing. I think I joined around the time of inauguration 2021. So I didn't become pro. When you use pro, then you're able to have a TV channel. And so I ended up getting that just a couple of months later. I was apprehensive to use Gab because of the stigma that it has. Now, that not to say that there isn't some truth to that, but that's because people that have that do engage in hateful speech, that's protected under the First Amendment, so long as it's not calling for violence against others. They're able to express themselves here too. So this place gets the reputation for being a Christian place, and when you show up, you're like, those are not Christian things that are being thrown at me, and those are not Christian people coming at me for my faith and my color and all this. And there you go. That's why some people try to conflate that. Oh, so it's white nationalist Christians. Like, what? No, those two don't even make any sense. But whatever. The point is that here, everyone's welcome. There's no preference one way or another to what you say or think. You're free to post. You're free to block people. That's basically what you would do on a daily basis, and that's what the town square is meant to be. And if you don't want to be there, fine, don't be there. But for those that claim to be freedom of speech, here's the thing, and this kind of goes to Truth Social too, the Trump's upcoming platform in about a month. Of all of these, the only ones that you won't find on any app stores would be Gab. They used to be in an app store, but because you have to basically adopt the Silicon Valley terms of service, you have to get that, or else you won't be on those places. With the exception of Parler and Minds, that don't have their app technically all in on the Google Play Store, because they're Android apps, you can sideload them. There is no app that you can sideload that works anymore for Gab. You can do like a web progressive app, and it still behaves for the most part like an app on your iPhone or your Android device. The same can't be said about the other ones that do have an Apple app. So that'll be GETTR, that'll be Minds, that'll be Parler. They adopted the terms of service of Silicon Valley in order to get their app on the platform, and I get it. Just like Truth Social, you need the widest reach, and the widest reach you want to be on would be the Apple App Store, because if there's an app for that, then people will most likely use it. That's been one of the major knocks against Gab, because people don't realize that you can do a web progressive app. Anywho, the mere fact that they actually have that already tells you of censorship, and people have complained about censorship on Parler. They complained about censorship on GETTR. There's a big controversy, and this is what I want to circle to, not circle back, but circle to with respects to, let's see if he pops up, Elijah Schaffer. Elijah Schaffer was recently claiming that he was being shadow banned here on GETTR, because he was asking, why is it that First America Patriots have been banned from GETTR without any explanation as to what terms of service items they offended. And the high point, or the main point here, would be Nick Fuentes. Not a fan of the guy, don't care about him. So you could find him on Gab, you could find him on Twitter, but you can't find him on GETTR. So you can't. And Elijah Schaffer, who works for the Blaze TV, was looking into it. Well, he was claiming, and other places like the Post Millennial and I think the Daily Mail, they were covering this story because Elijah was talking about it. And let's see, did he post anything about it? Elijah also mentioned that his entire account on Telegram was also restricted. I'm not on Telegram for that reason, because that's just, when I was going to be a part of the beta team for Telegram many years ago when they were launching for BlackBerry, but I didn't, and I had my concerns about them eventually going the way of big tech, which I believe that they have, because they have been silencing others, but not everyone for some reason. So I don't know what the whole deal is there. But in this case right here, it's interesting. This is a post from Elijah Schaefer, January 10th. It's interesting that Joe Rogan is also suspicious of GETTR official. This is not the actual name of the account. So this is Elijah accidentally typing in GETTR official. That's the name of the account, GETTR official, but it's called @GETTR. After learning about the Chinese funding, follower inflation, yes, blocking of political dissidents they agree with, and that was with respects to what happened with Nick Fuentes, Michelle Malcolm, and Lauren Wazitsky. If you're familiar with them, they're on GETTR that were coming out trying to defend Nick and trying to get answers for why he was banned. They're supposed to talk that maybe Steve Bannon was the one that got him banned, Jason Miller. There really isn't an answer to all this, and due to that, Elijah got shadow banned, and he was complaining about it on Twitter. So on Twitter, he was complaining about him being less free on GETTR, and Joe went into that effect. I'm not going to play the video, but the other thing that was an issue with leftist dog whistles in the terms of service. Yes, when you're going to filter out hate speech according to who, that's what Silicon Valley did, and look at the crackdown that they made. And then Democrat background of the staff, like what? So that's always going to be a concern. And here's the big one. Amazon Web Services servers investigation continues, as in Amazon Web Services is the one that runs GETTR, the very one that deplatformed Parler. So that means that in order for GETTR to exist on these the way it does and how fluid it is, it has to basically be in cahoots with big tech. And there's, to me, the big one were the reports that they are spying for Google and Facebook and Twitter. If that is true, because that's recently that I found out about, I'm done with GETTR. I've already had my concerns about GETTR, but like that one, that's a big one. That's why I immediately deleted my Android app, because this also goes for the web. So I use this on a token stripper, and I use VPN and things like that whenever I run. Everything you see here is not running on any browser that you're going to probably be familiar with. I run them on the center on some of my computers, and when I don't use that, I have Brave, which is basically the same thing. They're all based on Chromium, but with some safety features added in. But on top of that, there's also ways that I manage my web traffic, and that's whenever I use any social media whatsoever. So GETTR, not cool. I don't like that. I even re-quoted this post. That's why it's here, because there are questions that need to be answered, and that is not one that's cool. But as I explained, that I follow more on GETTR, more accounts on GETTR and on Parler, is because that's where people that I used to follow on Twitter are active. That's why I'm there, and I'm following them. I do all of this just so I don't have to be on Twitter. I deleted my Twitter account. It was called The Newsreel. 12,000 tweets, hundreds of interactions, a lot of relationships that I developed there, connections. I was done with it, like around the time that I think Alex Jones and Laura Loomer got the boot. When I decided to do to delete my Twitter, it was like, I don't know that I like where Twitter is going if even the people that I agree with that are the conservative right were not defending Alex Jones and Laura Loomer for the deplatforming. Because I'm like, they have a right to say what they're going to say because it's protected speech, but no one came to the defense. And I'm like, well, if you guys don't stand up and speak out against big tech overreach, we're going to have major clampdowns down the road. It didn't take that long for it to happen. So like, you know what? I bit the bullet. I said, I'm out of Twitter. I'm gone. I deleted my Facebook. So Andres, but you are on Twitter. Other accounts, one's for business that I've had it, and it's basically there just to have a presence. And the way I manage that, I'm going to keep to myself. But am I interacting on any of those? Absolutely not. Because I don't. So a private one that I had forever, I'm like, I'll keep it there because of my local notifications, because they're not anywhere. They're not on Instagram where I do exist. I know that one's big tech. I've talked about it before. I'm not going to address it now. But everything else, like, dude, they're not anywhere, and they're pushing important information, safety updates, and things that they're doing with respects to health, and you know what I'm probably referring to there, that I have to be aware of. So yeah, I need to get some information, and that's why some people that have been banned from the major platforms wish they were still on it. I said, why would Trump still want to be there? Because that's where that's where almost all the interaction is, and they're restricting you from it. Yes, parallel economy, absolutely, because we need one. But this whole segregation of groups, that's ridiculous. That's un-American. So that's my major issue with all of this, that I'm here so I don't have to be active on Twitter and engaged on Twitter. But I have a private account just so I get some notifications from my local authorities, because I need to be aware of those things. You know, that's what makes it so frustrating. And I wish of all these, the one I wish I could use the most is Gab. And I do use it to the capacity that I can, but none of my local authorities are on it. None of my local politicians are on it. None of anything that I know that are local to this at all. Even groups that say they're from Southern California, they haven't been active forever, but I keep posting there hoping that they'll wake up and get active on it. So I'm like, hey, maybe, you know, because we're all in real estate, we could back each other up or keep ourselves informed. Nope, not happening. So I'm like, whatever, I'm going to keep trying until eventually to discover Gab, if they haven't heard of it, and show up there. So that's the way I use it. And like I said, Gab is the most robust of all of them. It doesn't use the big tech servers and things that you use in-house servers. Yeah, there's going to be issues with traffic at times. I have major issues with Gab TV where sometimes my videos don't upload, or I have to reprocess them and things like that. So I've gotten to try to minimize some of the trouble there, because you can't schedule them. You have to upload the day and the time you want to post them. Like, oh my goodness, that's frustrating. I had to put basically low quality resolution videos, because that's like the only way I can try to get them through the door, or else they get stuck and bottleneck, never post. Sometimes half a day, nothing happens. Like, screw it, I'm done. But so every time I come back, it's like, no, but most of my interaction is there. So that's one of the frustrations with Gab that I have. But that's also the fault of those that claim to support freedom of speech, but ignore Gab or hate on Gab and go to these other places. You have an app store, or you have an Apple app from Parler, GETTR, Minds, and all of them tell you, yes, they censor through the app. So use the web browser on your mobile device, on your iPhone, if you want to get around it. Or in the case of Minds, they say, hey, yes, we're on the Google Play Store, but go ahead and sideload the app instead, so you're not censored, because they offer it direct. The APK is right from their website, just like Parler. So people that have complained about being censored on GETTR and Parler, I know absolutely it's because they're using the Apple app. So guess which one's the first to land for Truth Social? Where is all the advertisement coming from? The Apple App Store. What's that tell you already, folks? If you've been censored on GETTR, if you've been censored on Parler when using an Apple app, or on Minds if you find yourself there, you're going to be censored on Truth Social. That's just the truth, because they all adopted the terms of service from Apple. That's the agreement they made. They bent the knee to make that happen. Of all of these, the only one that has it is Gab. So kudos to them. And they have the scars to prove their stance. And I have my major disagreements with the founder of Gab. Even though we're supposed to be brothers in the faith, I have strong issues with how sometimes he expresses himself, what he says. Sometimes I think is highly uneducated for someone that claims to have been recently converted, or at least recently baptized and things like that. Yeah, that I have my issues with the way some things are projected. That doesn't mean I question his faith. That doesn't mean I question where his heart is. The guy is a patriot and he stood by it. So I can get behind that. Or else, why would I choose someone like Jack Dorsey over an Andrew Torba? Like, wait, that doesn't even make sense either. Like, dude, what? No. So I would say, hey, give Gab a shot. Of all of these, if you want a place that's more robust, it is Gab. Admittedly, if there are accounts that you want to follow, you're probably going to find them some on Parler, but mostly GETTR. And that's just the truth. That's why I try to follow most of the accounts that are active across all of these. I don't like doubling up on all of them, because then I just see the same notification over and over again. But in the places that I choose to engage in the comments, then that's where I'll be more active. And admittedly, where that's happening is GETTR. So I am more active on the comments on GETTR. And the ones that I engage with, like the ones that, followers that engage with me the most is, I would give it to Gab more so than Parler, but I would say it's about even. But Gab offers way more. So just throwing it out there. So, hey, if I offended anyone or everyone on any of these platforms, I do all this. I'm on all these just to not be on Twitter. So do what you got to do. It's a free country for now. Anyway, that's it for this one. This was a tech talk that I didn't expect to do, but I did it, and there you are. So go check out yourselves. If you're interested in following me in any of these, it's at the Andres Segovia on almost all of them except GETTR. That one's _Andres Segovia. But I don't know how long I'll be there because stuff that I'm finding out about it. So anyway, that's where I'll leave it. Check out my stuff at www.segovia.com. Thank you so much for watching this one. And as always, let's go, Brandon. And I'll see you in the next one.